All right, I'm Ed Parco. And by the way, Zach, we're live now, or finally.
Okay.
And you guys everybody needs to bear with us today. We're kind of doing it with a limited Wi-Fi connectivity. Didn't realize in the world that's not Wi-Fi like we have at home. So anyway, I'm Ed Parco, the host of Real Estate Jerky, the radio show, and this is the extension of that. And we normally have on Tuesdays the person that was on the radio over the weekend have them come back, talk a little bit more about what they were talking about. And I'm sorry, it still was a little bit over my head what you were talking about. I kind of understand it, but Zach Osborne of Osborne and Associates, thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for the invite back. I had fun on the radio show, so I think I told you before, anytime I get to talk about retirement plans and someone listens, that's a great day.
That's right. All right. And one of the biggest things I didn't know is the thing that was enacted a couple years ago, right? You want to get into a little explaining what that is and what the different phases and what the phase we are in now, and then we'll go in depth what you can do to, I don't want to say fight it, but what's a better option than what they have.
Yeah. So first thing that we want to address is that California put in a mandate that if you are an employer in this state and you have more than 5 employees, you need to have a retirement plan. So you can go on the Calsavers website and see what kind of retirement plans qualify, but it would be things like if you already offer a 403B, a 401k, profit sharing, a SEP or a simple, things like that. If you already offer those, you're good. If you don't offer one of those and you don't get one in place by the time of the deadline, California is going to essentially default you. I say default, but really they're going to make you sign up for Calsavers, which is the state's version of a retirement plan.
And so most people have, I don't want to say most people, because a lot of companies don't offer 401ks, 403bs or whatever for their employees just because of how they were set up. And a lot of their employees were, I want to say maybe temporary and, not full time. So they didn't look into it because a lot of ag business is set up that way, correct?
Yeah, you got seasonal workers. If they're with you for a few months and they put $100 into the plan, then you got to go find them and pay it out. So it's not well designed. Or maybe you got a coffee shop with, 6 teenagers are your employees. You don't need a retirement plan in that scenario. But now the state says you do. So there are businesses that maybe didn't have interest in it before that are now going to be forced into offering some sort of retirement savings for their employees. And they did do a phased rollout, like you mentioned. So if you have more than 100 employees, your implementation process was last year. It already happened. So you have to have a retirement plan as of September 30th last year. If you have more than 50 employees, it's this year. It's June 30th this year. So that gives you 8 days to put one in place if you don't already have one.
Hold on, but but your employees could go get their own plan, and that would work too, right? If they didn't go through, or does it have to be a company plan if you're 50 or larger?
Yeah, so like your employees could go open up IRAs on their own and decide not to contribute to your plan, but you still have to offer it. So you still got to put something in place and roll it out to all your employees if you're 50 or larger. So like I said, luckily a lot of those companies already had plans that were that size, but it was really common, especially where I'm at in Modesto, and I think a lot of the listeners are at in Modesto and the Central Valley, is you have, like you said, the ag people who have maybe 100, 200, 3,000 ag employees working for them seasonally. And so those count as employees for you. If they get a W-2 wage and they're over age 18, they count, even if they're maybe considered part-time because they're only with you for half the year or something like that. You still need to offer a retirement plan now. And the last deadline would be June 30th, 2022. And that's going to be for anyone with 5 or more employees. So 5 employees, at least one of them's age 18. You have to have a plan. So now you're going to encompass almost every single business, in the state.
Wow. And I think a lot of times people they're so busy, especially through COVID, what we went through, that they're not focused on everything the state's throwing at you and what they do. And I was surprised to hear about this. And I kind of just wanted to get that information out a little bit more again. And let's focus on the ones who haven't got the plan yet, right? So that we're working on the 5 or more. So you have 4 employees, and here's the other thing a lot of people don't realize: if you're the owner of the business and you're W-2'd, you are one of the employees, correct?
Yep.
Under this
That counts.
scenario.
That
So
counts
if you-
towards your 5.
Right. So if you have 4 people that work for you and you're the owner, guess what? Now you have 5 and you need to have a plan in place. And it's not that difficult to put a plan in place, but it's just additional stuff that you need to, we have to do. And most companies want to offer this for their employees, but it's that whole thing about being forced to do something, being forced to do something that people don't like.
Yeah,
So.
100% agree. I'm not big on the government mandating how you need to run your business, because I often think that ends up negatively impacting the employees. But this specific mandate has worked out really well for my business because people are opening 401ks left and right. But that being said, I agree. You shouldn't force people into doing something, but that's what California is doing. And I mean, I get what their message is behind it. The data shows that people are 32 times more likely to save via their paycheck than just, like you were saying, go open up their own IRA with the bank or a financial advisor. So I hope that the intent is truly good and they're not just trying to collect, some of those fees and take some of those and that sort of thing. But I really do think that they are trying to help just the average employee who's working here. And like I said, they're not forcing you into their plan. They're saying you have to have a plan. So you do have a lot of other options here, especially if you don't already have something in place. You have a year to get it together. You have until, like I said, June 30th, 2022 to meet with your local professionals, whether it's your CPA, your financial advisor, or what we do is a third-party administrator for retirement plans. If you have a local third-party administrator or TPA that you can talk to, they can go over your options with you and really design something that's going to fit what you want, rather than the Calsavers plan, which is really sort of a one-size-fits-all. You don't have any options. You're going to do exactly how they say you're going to do it if you go into that role, I guess, or that plan. So it's important that you spend some time over this next year to do research and see if that actually is going to work for you, or if you want to get your own plan.
Well, when you're saying that you're hoping that they want to help, I think Ronald Reagan said the scariest thing that somebody could say is, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help," and that's so true, because most of the time the government's not. They're trying to help, but unfortunately hurt. They did that to our industry through 2000. What happened in 2008 on, all the laws they put into place didn't necessarily help the people getting loans. So I hope they are here to help. But all right, so let's say that you want to put one of these plans together for somebody. I don't think people understand your role, the role of the financial advisor, and the role of the person who takes the money. You want to explain that scenario real quick, and then we'll get into the plan.
Yeah, happy to. So typically when you set up a 401k plan, you have a team who is implementing this plan for you, transitioning and unrolling it to your employees, and essentially helping you get it set up. Because let's say an employee wants to save $100 to their 401k plan. Somehow that's got to come out of their paycheck and make it over to whatever bank, financial institution you choose. And that's the same case with the state. They're not going to come out and tell you how to figure that out. It's up to you to figure that out yourself. So usually when you have a retirement plan, you have a team. And think of like a 3-legged stool is the best example when we talk about retirement plans. The seat would be kind of the plan sponsor or the employer who's setting up the plan. And then the 3 legs that are holding that up would be your financial advisor as one of the legs. And what the financial advisor does is he picks the funds in the plan. So when that money actually goes off to the participants' accounts, it's got to get invested in something. I mean, it can sit there in cash if they want to, but most people want to invest it and try to get some earnings over these next 40 years or however long they're saving for retirement. So the advisor is going to not only pick the funds that are in the plan, they're also going to replace funds that are underperforming. They're going to sit down with the participants and discuss and assess their risk tolerance to pick the right funds for them, just like a financial advisor would do if you went down and met one at the bank or something like that, but they do it specifically for your plan. They're also going to coordinate any enrollment meetings or anything to make sure you're getting all of those necessary notices out to your employees. The second leg, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yes. Oh, okay. The second leg is what we do, the third party administrator. So we're kind of like the CPA for the retirement plan. We do the tax form. We keep the employer in compliance, making sure no one's going over annual limits as far as contributing to the plan and that sort of thing. Any distributions, any loans that come through, we're going to process those. And any sort of regulations that change, keeping the employer up to date. So we're working directly with the employer most of the time and making sure that they're staying out of trouble and getting everything done in compliance. And then the last leg would be the financial institution. That's where the money's actually getting sent. And they hold the money. And then they also, if your participants want to go see their account balance, if they need a statement, they can go online. They're like the big company, the 800 number that's holding all of the funds and communicating with the participants on a high level as far as questions on, their account balance and that sort of thing.
All right. Now, one of the things you were talking about, you said you can borrow against or loans against. Excuse me. But the problem with the estate plan, which we haven't gone into, you can't do that. There's set up not to borrow against. You can't use it like a lot of people can use their normal 401ks or 403bs. So that's why when we're talking about this, I'll let you go into that. But if you're going to do this, you really want to set up your own plan so you can have the setup right for your employees so that if they want to borrow against the money they put in there, because I'm going to tell you right now, my wife does it all the time. So, it's just an easier way for her to do what she wants and pay things off. And, so it's important that you get the right plan in place. And so tell about the Calsavers program. And then we'll get into, what's the process to get you up your own plan.
Yeah, that's a good example. That's just one of many features that you would think of when you think of a 401k plan that isn't offered in the state plan. Like I said before, the state plan is very one size fits all. These are the rules, and that's all there is to it. You don't get to, when we talk about plan design, you can decide to allow for loans if you're an employer. You can decide that your employees need to work for you for 1 year before they're allowed to come into your plan, or you can say the day you're hired, they come into the plan. With the state plan, it's 30 days. They work for you for 30 days. They come in. They're 18 years old. They come in. And when they come in, they get automatically enrolled. So they get automatically enrolled at 5%, meaning that if they don't make an election, so they work for you for 30 days, and in that 30 days, they didn't say, I want to participate or I don't want to participate, you have to auto-enroll them into the plan at 5%. So you start sending 5% of their check to the state on their behalf in this plan. And now you're responsible for that conversation with the employee when they say, where'd my money go? And you tell them, I sent it to California. It's in Calsavers. Because you didn't reply to that email that you got, So not only that, they also have an escalation feature, meaning that you automatically escalate that 5% up to 6%, and then 7%, and then 8%, and then you stop. So each year you would go up 1 more percent, and after 3 years you would stop. And make sure you don't go above that, because now you've broken the rules, right? And so you've got a new headache on your hands if you do that. So you have to closely watch what your employees have decided to do, because you're facilitating it through your payroll. The state kind of makes it seem like in their communication that you're not responsible for a lot of things, but they're not helping you with that. So they have notices online and stuff, and you can call them and ask them questions, but no one's coming out and telling you this is exactly how your payroll should be run to send this off and that sort of thing. And these are all Roth contributions. So if you accidentally withhold it pre-tax instead of Roth, that's something you're going to have to fix as well. So lots to consider if you're going to go in the state plan, because you have to do it exactly how they want to do it rather than setting it up the way you want to do it. I said on the radio show, we do hundreds of plans in the Central Valley, and maybe 5% of them have an automatic enrollment feature because it's so difficult to facilitate for. You have to take it really seriously if you're going to do that, and you have to have those conversations with your employees in advance. You want to tell them before you start taking their paycheck that they're going to get automatically enrolled, rather than tell them afterwards and trying to fix it and get it back to them from the state. So those are a couple features that I would say you would want options on if it was me. The big advantage of the state plan, and why I think people will go towards it is because it's no charge to the employers. So they're not making the employer pay for anything. The only thing you have to pay for essentially is your time that it would take you or your payroll person to set it up. And depending on if you have a lot of employees or not that many employees or how advanced your payroll system is, that can be a lot of time or not very much time. So that's really their main selling point, is that here's the plan. It's not a great plan. It's kind of new. We haven't got all the kinks worked out, but we're not going to charge you for it. So that's where they're at with it.
Zach, did you say it was pre-tax or after tax?
All contributions are Roth contributions. Essentially what the state plan is you're setting up a Roth IRA for all of your employees. So one of the biggest advantages of a 401k plan is that you get a tax deduction at the end of the year. Not in this case. And if your employees aren't eligible to contribute to a Roth IRA, which some people aren't depending on their income, or maybe they've maxed out their Roth IRA at the bank or with their financial advisor, and then they think they're maxing out their 401k as well, but truly it's Calsavers, not allowed to do that. You've broken the law. Luckily, they're not holding the employer responsible to communicate that message to the employee, but you could still, as an employee, be totally in a bad position there if you think you're saving a lot by maxing out your Roth IRA and then you also max out your Calsavers. You've over contributed. You've doubled what you're allowed to contribute. So you have to take it back, and you have to do it by a certain date, or you incur penalties.
Well, I mean, there's one reason not to use the plan right there. I mean, the fact that it's after-tax money. Yes. I'm sorry. Matt's like over here throwing a lot of comments up here, so I want to throw this. He's like, good luck calling the state for help. High cost of internal fees and investments through Calsavers. Well, the fact that it's a Roth in the first place is why you don't want to have this plan. You want to have your own plan set up as a real 401k or, nonprofits 403b. You do not want to have this plan. I did not know from the radio, if we didn't really focus on the fact that it was a Roth. You might have said it, but I didn't catch it. That right there tells you, that's why you have that max of 5 and 8, right? Or whatever it is, because that's the max you can on a Roth. So you definitely, as an employer, do not want to go this route as Calsavers. You're not going to help your employees. Just get his plan set up. And like Zach said, he can help you out. And we'll be talking to, because I was getting ready to set this up anyway before I heard about all this. I definitely do not want my people to go through Calsavers, especially the fact that it's a Roth. And a lot of people are going to say, what's the difference? Well, one's before tax and one's after tax.
Yeah. And they're going to ask you. The great thing is if you set it up through, if you have real professionals on the plan, when they come to you with questions, you just say, call Zach. Or, I saw Matt doing comments, call Matt. He can help you with your investments. He can explain all of these things. And Calsavers tells the employer not to explain it to them, not to take that liability. But who are they going to ask? They're going to come ask the employer, right? Those questions. So yeah, it's helpful to have someone who can answer those.
And then they're going to get mad at the employer because they're not going to have the answers. They're going to tell them to call the state. They can't get the answers. And then they're going to be very upset. And they're just going to go back to the employer, and the employer is going to be very upset. So just set up a 401k ahead of time. You guys should have like a cookie cutter, a template, and say, okay, we have this for how many employees you have? 5 you have 10 employees, you have 15, whatever that number is, and say, we got these plans already set up. What do you want to put in there? And then go, then they don't have to think about it. I think one of the biggest issues with the 5 or more employees up to 49 is it's a owner and people who don't have a lot of time to think about this. So the easier you can make it, they might not have that person like you do on a 50 to 100 to help out to do this. So if there was a way to make it easier for people, I think it would be beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, the
state's don't have to think about it,
Yeah, they're trying to say that it's a simple process, but like I said, I mean, just even implemented through payroll can be difficult, and specifically trying to remember to automatically escalate your employees' contribution after a year can be difficult. So, I mean, that's pretty much my whole job. That's all I do every day is we help small businesses set up and facilitate their 401k plans. So that's really it for me. But I mean, you can try to navigate this thing yourself. It's definitely doable. There's employers who are going to do it, but it's going to really eat up your time focusing on your business,
Right. And if you're a smart employer, you do well, and that's all you focus on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most people do, but that's why they're successful. But then you have the other ones who don't want to, they don't want to let little things go. But I appreciate you coming on and talking about this a little bit more in depth. And if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, just call my office, 209-544-2202, or you can check out our website. It's osbornecorp.com, OSBORNECORP.com.
All right. So, but you help all over California, right?
Yeah, we have plans even out of state. I would say 90% of our plans are in the Central Valley. We're really that local, boots on the ground, going to come to your office and talk to your employees kind of company. And maybe
no, I'm trying to say if somebody else from out of our area wanted to use you, you could help them, correct?
Oh, yeah. We have some, I would say maybe 10% of our plans are out of state.
I'm just saying if somebody in San Diego watched this and they said, we want to talk to Zach, I want him to set up my company, you could handle that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially with what Zoom's shown us we can do this year. It's definitely possible.
Well, no, that one you might have to go down there for.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Hey, I'll be down there next week. I'll come on in. There's your business trip. All right. Anything else you want to throw in there for anything we forgot about? I know you normally talk about this for an hour if you're doing a whole thing on it, but I want to keep it kind of short because I don't want everybody to get, too glassed over and like, what do I do?
No, I think you hit the high points. The main thing is getting the message out there, not only to employers, but to employees. Is knowing things like you can't contribute to this and your IRA in the same year. Those sort of messages are big. So the big thing is, like you said, my initial meeting is usually an hour plus going through all of the design and that sort of thing. I would say contact your local professionals is the big one and figure out something that works best for you.
Yeah. And I appreciate, the Roth IRA, the fact that that's what it is. And if you have one already, now you have two.
Yeah.
Right?
And you've broken the rules. And like I think I saw Matt's comment there, the only thing you can't roll over into a 401k plan is a Roth IRA. So This thing isn't portable. If you set up Calsavers and your employees start saving through Calsavers, they can't go to their next employer and roll that into the 401k plan, or you can't take that and roll it into your 401k plan. It's kind of stuck in this one lane of Roth IRAs. So not a lot of foresight on California's part there, but
I think they just wanted to deal with after-tax money so they don't have to worry about it, and instead of dealing with pre-tax money. And by the way, if you don't know that, that's what 401ks are, is your pre-tax. So that way you can put more away and it comes off you how much you make and all that kind of stuff. After tax, they probably thought, well, this is better for them because it's already been taxed. Then we just have to tax them on the gain.
Their money right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. They get to like their tax dollars today. If they do pre-tax, they don't get to collect it till you're 70. So it doesn't work out that well for them.
Right. And plus this way they can actually do their statistics numbers on, the after-tax money. It's more money. But the biggest problem, you have to realize the fact that if you're doing 5% of net, right? And so if employee normally gets $1,000 net paycheck, right, twice a month, they're not making a lot, that's going to affect them, or larger. Yeah. It's a big number after tax. So.
Yes, some people are really they don't have the dollars to spare, and they're not going to read the email that came through that said, "Hey, you need to make an election, or we're going to start taking from your paycheck." So, it's if you're an employer and you are able to do to have that communication with your employees, you should tell them we're going in Calsavers. Here are the rules. Have that communication wide open with them because it's really going to affect them as well.
Yeah. I don't know. Matt should have been on the show if he's going to be making this comment. It says just do a 401k Roth. Is there a 401k Roth?
Yeah. If you open up a 401k plan, you can just allow for Roth contributions. If that's what people want, then they can still do Roth in a 401k. And then they get real, like real funds to invest in with, reasonable fees, and you can contribute significantly more. You can only contribute $6,000 through an IRA, $7,000 if you're over age 50. In a 401k, you're allowing your employees to save $19,500 or up to $26,000.
See, Matt even said that. See, told you should have been on the show.
He should have. Yeah, he could have talked more about the investments too. Because, I mean, the funds. I think I said this on the radio, but there's only 5 investments you're allowing your employees to choose from that were established in 2019. So they don't have a track record that you can look back on and see how they perform. And they're all passive funds. So you don't even have the option to invest in actively managed funds if you wanted to, and you're paying almost 1% for those passively managed funds to this plan. So it doesn't. I don't want to hit on the Calsavers plan because it's so easy. There's so many things. The list is so long of why it doesn't make sense. But like I said, some employers will see free and they'll jump at it. But it's not free. It's just someone else is paying. The employees are paying for it based on the investments that they pick. And some employers, so my wife owned a gym before she became a stay-at-home mom to take care of our kids. But she had 8 employees, so she would have been forced into this. Those employees only worked like 10 hours a week or something like that. So if she sets up a 401k plan, she can say, you have to work 1,000 hours in a year to be eligible. Well, none of them would have met eligibility. So she could just max out her plan at $19,500 every year and not have to deal with the headache of any employees because none of them actually met eligibility to come into the plan. So she wouldn't have had to facilitate for anything. And so if you really want to do a well-designed plan, you might be able to circumvent this. If you have, like I said, a coffee shop where your employees are working part-time, none of them might be eligible. So if you do Calsavers, you got the headache of auto-enrolling them and that sort of thing. But you might be able to get them where they're not even eligible, and you don't have to deal with the plan at all if you're a small company. So there may be ways around it, especially in the ag business. A lot of those seasonal workers don't hit 1,000 hours. So, you just have the 2 owners, and it's a huge advantage because, like I said, now they can max out every single year, just the 2 of them in the plan, or not use it, whatever they want to do. But they don't have to worry about facilitating for it for all of their employees.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm going to move you over there. So I have that in my face, the Real Estate Jerky's logo. No, I think it's important to do your own. They're just forcing you to do a plan for your employees and to do a better plan. If you don't do one, they're going to shove all your employees into this other program, and then you're going to hear about it. Now, my question is, say you didn't have a plan and you have the now you got stuck doing the Calsavers. Can you then at one point now set up your own plan and then kick everybody out of the Calsavers, or do you have to, then you're stuck that way forever?
Yeah, kind of yes to both. So you can shut down your Calsavers plan at any point and open up your own 401k plan and then go online and exempt yourself. Say, we already have a plan, we're exempt now. But like I said, those employees can't roll those funds into a 401k plan. So they'll still have their Calsavers account. And if they go to another employer who facilitates for Calsavers, they could move it over there. It'll follow them that way. But really, you've got 2 kind of retirement vehicles now where you've got your 401k and then you've got your Calsavers money. Whereas typically you were able to move from employer to employer and bring it with you as you move. So yes, you can absolutely close it down and open a 401k plan. But those employees, even though they'll be in the 401k plan now, they're not necessarily going to bring over their Roth IRAs with them.
But what they can do is enroll that Calsavers into a different, their own Roth IRA. If they had a different Roth IRA, could they do that?
Yeah, they could just go to, like I said, their local bank or local financial advisor. And
if they had one already, you know what I mean? When they were double dipping, they weren't supposed to in the first place. You know what I mean? But what we're saying though is if they unfortunately have the Calsavers and they no longer need it, they could roll it into their own Roth 401k. Or I'm saying Roth IRA, and then they could still keep adding to their Roth IRA after tax dollars put in there themselves. Yeah, on top of the 401k that they have for their business.
Yeah, and I'd recommend that if you can get it if you can roll it out of the Calsavers to your own IRA, then you can get a real financial advisor who might be charging you 1% still, which would be similar to the Roth IRA, but you could have a multitude of funds. Like if you like Vanguard or you like American funds, you get to pick those options, and you're getting a professional who's monitoring those funds and watching it with you. Whereas Calsavers, you're not really getting anything for those fees that you're paying. So doesn't make a lot of sense to leave it in there if you have a Roth IRA somewhere else.
I totally agree. And, for me, the reason I do Real Estate Jerky and one of our slogans, for my business is building personal wealth through home ownership is because most people didn't have a 401k or 403b or IRA. And this is this is the way that government's forcing you to save for retirement, whatever that is. And I would just help most people, set up a 401k in your company and then set up, like you just said, if you have employees that are not technically, they should be independent contractors, but because of our laws, they work only so many hours, right? You can't pay them as independent contractor, they got to pay them as employees. They don't want to have these 401ks. They don't want to have all this stuff at multiple companies they work for.
Right, 100%. Like going back to the example of my wife's gym, she wanted to 1099 them all. She didn't want W-2 employees, but state of California said they had to be W-2. And so now they're saying she has to set up a 401k for these W-2 employees that they made her W-2 in the first place. So yeah, it's interesting. It sure is. So like I said, you might be able to find ways around it depending on your business model.
Right. And you're not trying to find ways around. You're trying to make it better for everybody.
Right.
Just as being recorded, So.
Right.
Zach, I appreciate you coming on the show today, giving me another 30 minutes of your time talking about this program. And if anybody has any questions, please reach out to Zach. You can find you're on Facebook, right?
I am.
They can direct message you on there. And you on Instagram?
I am. Yeah, I think so. I don't go on it a lot, but yeah.
He is the oldest non-user of social media that you can find.
Yeah, absolutely. As a 29-year-old, I'm the only one who can't figure out how to join a video conference. So
no, I'm just saying
somebody, though.
Yeah, you did. No, if somebody wanted to direct message you, they could through Facebook if they can't get a hold of you any other way. Otherwise, they can just find you in Modesto, Zach Osborne, Osborne and Associates. You can Google them. You can look them up. They're there. And Zach, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ed. I appreciate it.
Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody else, thanks for watching and listening. And if you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share. Have a great day.